This conference will now be recorded.
Councillor McDougall, can you hear us okay?
Loud and clear.
Very good. We just have one more minute, so we will start shortly. Just wanted to do a sound check with you.
Oh, it's all good.
Perfect.
Thanks.
How are you, Trent? Are you able to hear us okay? Close enough to 7? Okay, so it's 7 p.m., so we will call this meeting to order. I just wanted to make note on our agenda, there's just a few corrections. Under other business, Everwind letter of support will be addressed under report from committee of the whole, so we will need to address that item under other business. As well as the dog bylaw item is going to be tabled till the next public meeting. And other than that, I would ask if council has any additions this evening to the agenda.
No.
Councillor McDougall, you're good?
No additions, thank you.
Okay, so I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda with the 2 corrections.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Councillor McQuarrie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aucoin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? The agenda is approved. So this evening we do have a presentation with regard to Challenger Baseball. So Dean Marchand. Do we have Dean Marchand with us virtually?
Don't see him.
Okay, so he may, do we know if he was planning on attending virtually?
The email I got was that he was gonna attend virtually.
Okay, so maybe we'll just forgo this item for now, and then if we see him join, maybe Deputy Mayor, you just keep an eye if you see him hop on. Okay, so we do have a few acknowledgements this evening. I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Bob
Ojalik.
I don't know what I did with my phone. Bob Ojalik, and he passed away, and certainly not forgotten, as he received the Lieutenant Governor's Award for Architecture for the town of Port Hawkesbury Civic Center. Certainly a notable figure, and I would ask Terry if you wanted to say a few words. I know you knew him quite well.
Certainly, Mayor. So Bob Ojalik was a well-known architect in the province of Nova Scotia and outside the province in this country. He has a number of accomplishments and a number of awards. He was known as an architect of great vision, and many of his projects were designed with future in mind. And this is an example, this building itself. Award-winning, but very functional and huge success, which I think most people in this community and around the province would think. So, yes, very sad Bob's passing, and yeah, our condolences have been extended to his family.
Thank you so much, Terry. I appreciate that.
Your Worship, just want to note that Mr. Ojalik also was the architect for the Justice Center here.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for that. Did anybody else want to add anything? I know I unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to meet Bob, but I'm sure Councillor MacGyver and Councillor McDougall, I'm sure you knew him quite well since you were both on council during the time that the
Yes,
building was being designed.
Yes, no, he was well respected in the province for his architectural talent.
Yes, your worship. Yes, we had lots of meetings together, and he didn't like to change things once he got something in his head, but he's very, very, very easy to work with.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Councillor. Just a few other acknowledgements, and then I would ask council if they would have anything that they'd like to add. So of course, this month is Gaelic Nova Scotia month, and the Gaelic flag is currently flying on one of our flagpoles. Also Red Dress Day. I'd like to acknowledge that took place on May 5th. Also May 17th is International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. And is there any other acknowledgements council would like to make this evening?
yes,
Deputy
Your
Mayor,
Worship.
go ahead.
It's a message from Red Tribe Boxing and Barry Bernard, the promoter. He wanted to send along his gratitude to council for the donation for the event that's happening here at the Civic Center this Saturday. So he just wanted me to send a thank you once again.
Tell us a little bit about it, just in case anybody is watching virtually.
So we have 2 boxing clubs hosting an event. It's the Red Tribe Boxing Club. They're an Aboriginal clubs. And this will be the first time that they host a boxing card off of a First Nations reserve, and they're really excited. We have 6 children or 6 kids coming from Ontario to partake in the event, which is pretty exciting. Upwards to 15 fights. We were up to 20 at one point, but with COVID, it's dropped some numbers. So the event is from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock Saturday evening. Tickets are on sale at the Civic Center.
Thank you. Any other acknowledgements this evening? Okay, no hearing of no other acknowledgements. We're going to move on to our approval of council minutes. At this time, I would ask if there are any errors or omissions of our public meeting dated April 5th, 2022. Hearing that there are no errors or omissions, we'll move on to business arising from the minutes of that meeting of April 5th, 2022. Any business arising at this time the council would like to discuss? Okay, we'll move on to council committee reports, and over to you, Terry, or CAO Terry Dorr.
Yes, your worship, there are no motions coming from a committee of whole. There's one item that was brought forward at committee of whole for consideration at this meeting, and that is with respect to a letter of support for the Everwind project. And I'd
Perfect.
pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Terry. So we are fortunate to have several members of Everwind Fuels, some in attendance, and also the owner and operator participating virtually. So Trent, I guess I would invite you to, there you are. Turn your video on and please.
Yeah, sorry, I was just waiting for the call up. So thanks so much for putting us on the agenda and making a consideration of letter of support. So so Brenda, is it helpful for us to just give a quick overview of like the project or an update? I can take it wherever you want.
That would be wonderful, Trent. And certainly if you want to kind of tap David on the shoulder or Blaze, feel free to. But yeah, we'll go over to you for an update.
Okay, so we closed on the purchase of the Point Tupper site from New Star on April 28th. We've been making a lot of progress on development of the project. So in terms of the engineering, we've got Hatch doing engineering work. We've selected Nell for the electrolyzers out of Norway, and we've selected KBR for the ammonia plant. And KBR is probably they are the world's leader in building these ammonia plants with roughly 50% market share, and they're very strong in the North American market. In terms of the electrolyzers, part of we selected Nel for a number of reasons, but it's certainly as an industry where the production is ramping up quite a ways, and so you really need to make sure that you've got an electrolyzer provider who can has manufacturing capability set up and ready to go. So that was also part of our overall considerations, and they've been in the business, they have roots going back 70 years in that space. So we are getting close to sort of kicking off the permitting process. In terms of the community engagement, we'll be setting up like a local sort of steering committee, and David will be working on that, but we'll be looking for some local participants there to help us with that. We have an engagement plan coming together in terms of education on what it is that green hydrogen, green ammonia is. It's clearly a very hot topic in terms of there's a lot of projects and a lot of activity around the world right now, and what we'll try and do is bring that to life for the local community. So we're starting to get some of that information to the employees on the site, and we'll try and get that onto our website. And honestly, we just want to remain very transparent with how we progress on the project in terms of answering questions. And we'll do our very best. Just keep in mind that we are doing a lot of planning work, etc. So we'll do our best to answer everybody's questions around it. But one thing I just want to be absolutely clear on is that we'll have a very open door to talk to people. Safety and environmental concerns will be absolutely paramount, and so we're working really hard on that front, and we're doing studies to make sure all of that is well handled. But for things like hydrogen, for example, this is something that is going to be ubiquitous throughout the world. So you've got hydrogen fuel cell cars. There'll be a lot of hydrogen. Really is the future of sort of transport fuel, and a lot of, in helping decarbonize a lot of sectors globally. What would be great is David, maybe if you could just chat for a little bit about the transition and generally how the employees on the site are sort of viewing the project.
Pretty sure he did.
Is David there?
He certainly is. He's just being facetious.
Oh, okay, no problems.
It's certainly a process. I mean, we've been engaged with Newstar for 16, 18 years, and we're very much assimilated. So sort of the backing out of that is a challenge. Some challenges, but it's a lot of work. But it's coming together as we reorganize everything from payroll to PM to our documents, our invoicing, and stuff like that. It's probably going to continue like that for a little bit, and I think we're adjusting, and we're certainly looking forward to a new future and a new venture that's going to carry this site and its employees for the next 40 years. Very excited.
And you have some folks with you?
If I didn't, Lance McDonnell is the general manager, and Chelsea McCaffrey is HR, and Mr. George Wright is, we started together back in 92. And George is field safety, and he's also been head of the union for a good number of years. So glad he came up with this tonight.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming. And thank you, Trent, also for joining us virtually. I guess at this time, just if council would like to ask any questions or have any comments to either to Trent or any of his team, I would ask if council does have any comments or questions.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. Thank you for the presentation. And I guess the question I have is employees that you would be looking to run your plant. Is there any way we can help, I guess, through our Nova Scotia Community College Straight Campus I know we have power engineering, but is there any other specialty training that maybe would be done right here?
No, it's a great question. And so as we're starting to sort of do the engineering, I think what I was hoping to do is, as we sort of, are chatting with our, like our engineers and contractors, to actually sort of get specific around what that would look like in terms of both the electrolyzer plant and the ammonia plant. So not, maybe give us just a little bit of time, but we would like to, connect on that sort of sooner than later to make sure that, we're well prepared on that front. And so the other thing that I would say about the project is there will be the ability to, expand it over time. And so the more green power you can get to the site, the more, green fuels you can make. So as long as we're able to add green power over time, there should be sort of additional expansions, like assuming people, we get through the permitting and everyone's comfortable with it. But I think there's a bit to do on that front as well. But look, very happy to sort of sit down and connect and actually try and start to figure some of that out. I just say, like maybe we just take it offline and just get connected and we can start on that.
Thank you.
Any follow-up questions?
No, that's fine. You're
Okay.
Gareth, if you like, I mean, just to speak to Mark's point,
Sure.
when we began our operations back in 1995, we then engaged with the nautical school and we put together a joint operating training program. It was a 12, 14-year program where we combined our existing knowledge and expertise with our existing knowledge and expertise. And to your point, Mark, there's a great opportunity here to blend the two programs together and to help develop the talent and skills to run these facilities. And I know the nautical school is quite capable of doing that. And then like we have to reach out, to some of Trent's people and partners and fill the gaps where the training is. But there is a big potential for the nautical school to really develop as a green training hub also along with us. So it's exciting that they're here. We're lucky that they're here.
That's great. Thank you, Dave.
Excellent. Deputy Mayor, do you have any questions or comments?
Through your worship, no questions, just a comment of how exciting it is to see new ownership and somebody who wants to invest the money in our area and further the project along. It's fantastic news for the area, and anything we can do to help you along, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you so much. The support means everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Councilor McQuarrie?
Yeah, through your worship. Thank you, Mr. Vici, for speaking with us here this evening. I do have one question, and it's around numbers, which just curious in terms of getting the facility up and operating. How many employees is anticipated that part of the process will require?
So are you talking about just on the construction side, or once it goes in, like expansion goes into operation?
No, well, both. So the expansion and then in operation.
Yeah, we don't have specific numbers right now. What I can tell you is that we're making a substantial investment, so there should be a substantial number of construction jobs, and there will be operations jobs obviously associated. So it should be a very good jobs bump. It's just too early to give precise figures sitting here right now. One thing that I will say though is, in terms of the plan itself, what it will enable is, to the extent that there is wind farms built, it'll certainly be like a potential purchaser of that power, either through directly or through the Nova Scotia grid. So we'll hopefully be a catalyst from that standpoint. This is something I was chatting with Brenda about just a couple of days ago, is that as we get up and running, being able to provide clean fuels in the local area, be it hydrogen, be it green ammonia, will be something that you could advertise and potentially maybe an inducement for, other.
Lost.
Sorry about that. No, I just so what I was just saying is, we'll start to provide, be a source of clean fuels in the area as well. So, like, I'm sorry I can't give you specific figures. As soon as we can, we absolutely will. We're just, we're working on the engineering and the planning right now. But it's going to be a substantial investment, and there will be jobs. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's very much in the early stages. I'm just curious. That's why I asked the question.
No, totally fine.
Yeah.
Any follow-up?
No.
Councillor McDougall, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you very much. And Mr. Vici, thank you for your presentation. And I know all council will be supportive of your project. Just a quick, I know this is relatively new technology, and I don't know if there's any framework anywhere that you can compare it to, but just a follow-up kind of question on Councillor Macquarie's point. What do you think is the time frame for getting production going?
So what we're trying to do is get production going by 2025. We are going through the permitting and consultation process, and it'll be driven off that. Like, at the end of the day, we need to go through the permit process. We feel that the site is a good site in that it is, zoned heavy industrial. I don't think there's anything that's too radically different that, what we do, in terms of expanding there compared to, what's, there now, or frankly had been on the site historically. But it really comes down to permitting, making sure that we've got the support of the province, the First Nations, which we're working on as well. It's just bringing everybody along. We're trying to do our best, and we really want to be good partners and bring benefits across the board. And we've been really open and clear about that. Been working through the appropriate pathways, but we're trying really hard. We think 2025 is what I'd be hoping to do as quick as we can, really.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, one comment that you did make just on the technology. Ammonia technology, the Haber-Bosch process, has been around for 100 years. One point that I would sort of note is that ammonia today is used, 80% of ammonia is used for farms and fertilizer, and it roughly doubles the production of farms. And so it is absolutely essential to world food supply. And you'll have seen some commentary around disruptions given the current situation in Europe. But today, that ammonia and that fertilizer is being made directly from fossil fuels, primarily things like natural gas. And part of what we're doing here will be, making steps to provide, carbon-free ammonia and hydrogen. So I think, hopefully we can do some real good on that front. On the electrolyzer technology, that's been around for a very long time. In fact, you get, kids in a science class can make a basic electrolysis unit. What's the big difference here is that the hydrogen that's made from electrolysis is driven, the primary cost is of renewable power. And it's really that the cost of renewable power has dropped to a level where making green hydrogen is becoming more economic. So I don't think there's anything radically different technology-wise. It's more so that the cost of production is starting to come down quite a bit.
Okay, any follow-up questions, Councillor McDougall? You're good?
Yes, Your Worship. I always ask this question because I guess it's kind of a cheek and tuck, whatever you call it. But anyway, as you know, where you're planning to build is not in our municipality, so we won't get a dime in taxes. So I'm just wondering that, I know when we built the Civic Center, we got monies and donations and
Yeah.
for any projects that we would have going forward. I'm just hopefully that you can keep us in mind, because you will be in Richmond County, not in the municipality of Port Aspen.
Yeah, look,
Thank
it's a good, it's a good point. I mean, look, we want to be sort of, as I said, you know, spreading the benefits. Your point is well taken. Obviously, it'll support employment, but you know, there's something that we should keep a really close eye on, and you know, we want to be contributors to the local area broadly.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Thank you for your answers.
Okay, so I guess with that, I would ask council if anyone is ready to make a motion for the letter of support.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, seconded by Councillor McQuarrie. So we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor, please
Aye.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Uh,
Okay, I'm assuming that was an aye. Okay, so unanimously endorse the letter of support. The motion is approved. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the support. Really
You're
appreciate it.
Thank you, and to your team as well who are participating here in person. I think you can see them in the gallery maybe. They look super tiny on your screen, but I can attest that they are here to support. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of you're welcome to stay if you want to take in the rest of the meeting.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Trent.
Thanks.
Okay, any other motions coming from Committee of the Whole, Terry?
No, you were.
Okay, so we do have the minutes that have been circulated to council, and I just wanted to thank Deputy Mayor Coyne for chairing that meeting on my behalf. I appreciate it. I would ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions in those meeting minutes. And if there are none, I would ask council to make a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
Motion moved.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Seconder?
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
all right.
Contrary minded? Okay, the minutes are approved. And I would ask at this time if there is any business arising from the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting. Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to agenda item 9, which we will bypass because we did not have an in-camera meeting this evening. And we'll move on to council reports on assigned committees. And just to make a quick note that this evening is a combined public meeting as well as Committee of the Whole. So at this time, I did circulate my Committee of the Whole meeting, I guess my report on all the meetings I attended throughout the month and my activities. But again, as practice has it, I don't typically go through, but council's always welcome to ask any questions or point of clarity if you wish. But I guess we'll start maybe with Councilor MacGyver for any reports that you might have here for this evening.
Yes, Your Worship, through you, we'll hopefully be able to have a waterfront meeting by the end of the month, as it was canceled last month.
Okay.
As you mentioned in your report, we're going to reschedule the joint industrial park meeting. It'll be at the end of the month. And we have a meeting tomorrow, economic development meetings tomorrow. 5:30. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Coyne.
Through your worship, on April 21st, we had a Festival of the Street meeting. April 26th was the budget meeting. April 27th was the planning advisory. May 2nd, we had another budget meeting. And May 3rd to 6th, I attended the Nova Scotia, the NSFM. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, I guess Councillor McDougall.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Again, like our waterfront was canceled for our last meeting. We had 2 Festival of the Strait meetings, and the Festival of the Strait is looking pretty good. It's going forward. thanks to Deputy Mayor McCoy, we have a band for our beer bash. And we have a festival meeting on, the next festival meeting is going to be Thursday. And that's it for my report.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor McCoy.
Your worship, I attended a planning advisory committee meeting on April 27th and an Eastern County Regional Library meeting on April 28th.
Okay, very good. So any other committee reports? Okay, we're going to move on then to CAO.
Your worship, before we move on,
Sure.
Dean has joined us.
Oh, hi, Dean. Good catch. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My apologies. I received an email, but I see that it was dated a bit before, about the 7th of June. So my apologies again.
No, that's totally okay. Are you just doing a verbal kind of?
Yeah, I'm trying to pop the camera on here, but there seems to be an issue.
That's okay. That's no problem. We'll hand the floor over to you if you want to tell us a little bit about Challenger Baseball.
No problem. Thank you very much. So I'd like to thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak to everyone tonight. My name is Dean Marchand, obviously, and I'm from Loosedale originally. Played a lot of baseball with the RABA, and actually played some minor ball when I used to stay with a friend in Tamarack. So I'm really excited to get things going. Just a little bit of background towards the program. Randy Krause, who's the national coordinator for Challenger Baseball Canada, also the provincial coordinator for Challenger Baseball Canada, and the Antigonish coordinator for Challenger Baseball Canada, is instrumental in starting this program. It's a program that's developed to allow athletes with either physical or cognitive disabilities to participate in the sport of baseball. We have a unity that it's on a field, in a uniform, and on a team. Rules for the baseball itself aren't specifically followed. It's just more of getting some fresh air, some involvement, social, some opportunities for social development within the program itself. We use an hour a week at a baseball field in the area. So thanks to Jason, I was able to book that already. And we've gone through the beginnings of the process to become a league and have a charter, which is through Baseball Canada and the Jays Care Foundation. So I have a little video, if I can play this here on, I'm hoping that I'll be able to share it. Are
you able to give him share status, Terry?
Yeah, I think it's somebody, I think I need somebody to permission to share my screen.
We're working on it.
So Dean, I've given you presentation rights. I think you probably have to press OK.
Yep.
And there's a box at the bottom you might have to tick off to share media so we can hear the video. So if you see when you get that sharing screen, there's a little box at the bottom to share media.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Hoping that everybody can see. Can everybody see the screen as of now?
Not yet.
Challenger Baseball is a place where every kid is included and every child has a space on the team.
Every day we're on the field is easily my favorite day of the week.
On Wednesday nights, that's our routine. Just something so important to be part of and just so rewarding to see the smiles and the celebrations.
I've seen the participants and how much they enjoy the program, how much fun they have, how much they love working together.
My favorite thing is just interacting with the athletes, seeing the smiles on their faces.
Jays Care has offered us so many things. They helped us get started when we weren't sure if it was something we could do. They helped us all along the way through financial resources, equipment that they supply, t-shirts and hats for our athletes and buddies, coach and volunteer training.
And then we started to get all of the boxes coming in, and it literally felt like Christmas, all of this new equipment.
The first step is registering on our website, where we're able to answer any questions or provide you with any information that you need to continue moving forward. After that, it's just chartering your community and your league. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Challenger programs not only contribute and add value to your own community, but they become their own community as well.
I remember our very first night, and we had taken our uniforms and we hung them on hangers along the fence. So as the kids arrived, they found out what number they were going to be wearing and where their uniform was. Seeing their families help put that jersey on for the first time, likely in most situations.
It's not just about baseball, it's being healthy and active.
A community of individuals that were kind of told that they would never have that chance. To be able to provide that is something that is personally fulfilling for me.
I will continue to advocate for this program and tell everybody about this amazing program.
For me, probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
You're leaving a lasting legacy in your community. Help us provide accessible baseball to even more kids across Canada.
Were you guys able to see that?
We could hear it fairly clearly, but I think we all kind of got a really good picture about what it was.
Well, what I can actually do is forward that video to everyone. I'm not sure what's going on with the video itself. Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanted to forward it along to Melissa, she can definitely pass that along to council, or even
Perfect.
If you want
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I guess, and thank you for bringing this forward. I guess what can we do? What is your, I guess, sort of something, a specific ask of council that you would like to bring forward?
Yeah, well, in discussions with Jason, and he's been super helpful as well, we're just looking for an area that will be able to store some equipment, which we're able to do now in discussions with Jason. Just as far as council going, just helping us promote it as much as we can. We probably would be requesting some funding at some point, but I know there's a process for us to go through that. And throughout the beginnings of the program, funding isn't really necessary at this stage, just for the simple reason that the Jays Care Foundation is already in the process of doing the equipment purchase. So that's a positive thing. It's just more along the ideas of promoting it, getting it out there, allowing families within Port Hawkesbury, Richmond, and Inverness to know about the program. And if there's any other avenues that we might be able to do that, I would be grateful. I spoke with the reporter already. Jake Boudreau contacted me, and we had a good little start on that. I believe he's putting something in the reporter this week. He was aware of the conversation tonight that I was going to be meeting with you guys. So again, I just appreciate the opportunity to discuss it with you, and looking forward to having council support us and back us as much as we can to get it out there and allow people from our area to know that these programs out there for students or children to participate in activities like this, despite having some disabilities or cognitive disabilities as well. So again, I just thank everybody for the opportunity to be here, and if there's any questions, I can answer them as best I can.
Thanks so much, Dean. I'd like to open up the floor if there's any questions or comments. Perhaps maybe we'll start with you, Deputy Mayor Coyne.
Through your worship. Dean, thanks for the presentation, and so far it's been a delight to work with you and try to move this along. Dean, there is one thing when the mayor asked if there was anything that you were asking of council. In our earlier conversations, you were asking about the possibility of a room for buddies to meet up. Is that still something that you would need?
Yes, that would be something we'd need just in the initial few weeks. We do some workshops online and virtual. We're hoping to do a buddy meet and greet as well once we get some names, just to come in and get together, get to know everybody. I can tell them a little more about the program, exactly what happens, show them some examples of some ways that we help and assist the athletes that participate. So that would be a benefit as well. There are opportunities now through the Jays Care Foundation where they do it virtually. So it's not a necessary thing, but it would be a very beneficial thing if that is possible.
Okay, and just, Dean, if you could send us a link or even a PDF of a brief description of the program and the fact that we need some buddies, or maybe a little description of what the buddies can do, and we can share that possibly on our social media and try to get some exposure that way, so we can help you get your buddies in place.
That would be perfect. I'd appreciate that. It's like I said, it's more the hitting the ground running with buddies and people in places is kind of the key. Allowing the athletes, it's a chance for really, in a sense, for parents to come and allow their children to participate in a sport, but also gives them around an hour to just kind of relax outside the field as well. And being part of Antigonish, up in here in Antigonish, we see that weekly. It's kind of that moment where parents are able to they're able to take a breath. They know that the children are in good hands. They're having fun. Gives them a little break. So those things are a positive thing. And like I said, I'll forward any information to you all. Like I said, I'm so appreciative of the fact that Jason and everyone has allowed me to get this program on the go. I'm not sure if you're all aware of who Randy is. He's actually had a few moments or hours on the Hawk with the Breakfast Boys as well, and did some auctions for our program, and it's just a benefit for anybody involved, really.
Thanks, Dean. I would ask, I know Councillor McDougall is no stranger to the sport of baseball, and figured that he may have some comments and questions. And I know that I'm a hockey mom, but he's been an actual baseball player and a baseball dad. So for you, Councillor McDougall.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Dean, I don't know if I know you. I think I do. Are you the famous Dean that used to pitch against us all the time?
No, I'm the famous Dean who used to be mistaken for the guy that used to pitch against you all the time. I was the second baseman.
Okay, yeah.
I was the quiet second baseman in the back. So, I'm actually the guy that Jason used to laugh at because I used to slide funny when I'd come into the bag when he was an umpire. So he used to get quite a big joke from me. But anybody from Loosedale area or anybody really down that area, I've played ball with them. So if you did some coaching with the Alpines, and I've been there.
No, it was before then. It was with Junior, Marchand, and that crew.
Yeah, well, I played with those gents as well. So there were more of the senior guys on the team as I played through. So yeah, I played actually with Low River, Loosedale, and St. Peter's over a good period of time. So
yeah, I think I know it now. But anyway, Dean, thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm definitely enthused and very supportive of this. I know Randy, and I know the hard work that he put into this over the years. So for you taking it up and Jason helping you out in this area is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Growing up actually in Loosedale, and I had a niece who was diagnosed with autism, and my love of baseball and kind of the desire to help, students with cognitive needs as a teacher as well. I see the impacts that this would have had actually on her growing up. It would have been a very positive thing, and being involved with Special Olympics, seeing how positive that program is. They actually do a lot of challenger programs with adults as well. So maybe if this starts to go really well, we can incorporate work with the Rock Center as well. So these are all benefits that are endless in all reality. So I just again thank everybody for being here and allowing me to present to everyone.
Thank you.
And I do apologize. I can't see anybody for some reason. And I do apologize that the video didn't work as well. So like I said, I will forward that to everyone.
No problem.
Just to follow up, Your Worship, and I'm glad you said that, Dean. about the Rock Center. I have a niece also that was in the Special Olympics, and she worked at the Rock Center for many years, and that would be a great fit for this Challenger baseball. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, it is. It's wonderful, and I see some names that I recognize quite a bit. So, to see Michelle, actually, I grew up with Michelle's husband, David, and I know Michelle quite well, and I know that she's an asset to the town and in the programs that she ran in Fort Mac. So I would imagine that she'll be on board with these kinds of things as well. So again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dean. Over to you, Councilor Corey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Dean, just the 1st of April, the town had adopted our accessibility plan, which we had worked on since last fall. And this accessibility plan, all the municipalities are required to have these plans in place now. And the areas that we looked at were work environment, built, how do you phrase that?
Oh, it's
the built environments,
yeah.
Recreation environment, employment situations.
Yeah.
And so I've no doubt that you do have the support of council on this. It's a really positive initiative, and it does address the whole issue for sure about recreation and making that recreation accessible to individuals that haven't always had it easy to access. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Councilor McCrory, and certainly exactly correct. We want to be a town for everyone, and I think this is one of the stepping stones to take. To you, Councilor McIver.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. Thank you, Dean, for the presentation, and I don't have any questions at this time, but I wish you all the best, and I'm sure that we'll support you 100%.
Thank you again. I appreciate that.
So I guess as a go forward, perhaps we can define a little bit of the support that you need, and then it sounds like council is supportive. So we'll figure out ways that we can assist, and if it does come a time that there is a financial request, certainly you're welcome to move that forward. That can result in a motion. But I guess, Jason, is there any specific motions at this time that you foresee, or?
I would put a motion forward that when required, that we would donate a space, whether it's the boardroom or
arts and crafts
room or whatever, just for a couple of hours for the buddies to get together and get some training and introduced.
Okay, so I guess Dean, if you can let us know what your needs are as I guess as they become defined. If you can, I guess we do have a motion that we'll need a seconder for.
Second.
Thank you. Does council have any questions or comments? Question has been called. On the question, go ahead, Councilor McDougall.
Yeah, on the question, I'm just wondering, is this a one-time thing, or is it a weekly or monthly, the 2 hours?
Initially, to start, it will be a one-time thing, but throughout the year, if we end up having an opportunity to do some recognition activities, might be a beneficial avenue to access. It wouldn't be a constant thing, but maybe around August when the program finishes, maybe another couple-hour session would be great.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. If you're prepared, you can call the question. Okay, question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. And I guess going forward, if you want, Jason is the chair of recreation, sports, and active transportation. So, and Council McCrory did make a really good point. It would be lovely, Dean, to perhaps have you at one of our accessibility meetings in the future, just to tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and perhaps there's some way that our accessibility advisory committee can assist as well in helping out.
I'd love to do that. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time this evening. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Doing.
Take care, everyone. And again, appreciate it.
So So we'll move on to agenda item 11, which is CAO reports. Over to you, Terry.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So tonight we have a shortened version. It's sort of a much higher level than we normally would have with respect to CAO reports. I would thank the senior staff for providing the reports that I've been including in your package. And just a few things. Engineering and Public Works. It's going to be an extremely busy summer for us on that side. Just a bit of an update. We've had ICIP water systems upgrade project application has been submitted for approval. We're still waiting for approval on that, but design work continues in hopes that that will move forward. And the same goes for the Federal Active Transportation Fund. On construction as well, the Macquarie Drive extension to the Active Transportation project has been tendered, and that tender closed on May 5th. We had two submissions, two bidders, Weeks Construction and Dexter. Weeks Construction were the low bidder on that project. We're now just analyzing the bid and making some adjustments to scope and hope to have an award on that by the end of the week. So we should see work on that happen fairly quickly. We have a very aggressive capital program with respect to asphalt. So we have Street Engineering have been working with us to ensure that the work includes consideration for drainage and surface. Those documents should be ready for tender within the next week. So that project is moving forward very well. We had an award to Sweeps Pavement Marking for our pavement markings, and that work is scheduled to be, by contract, is scheduled to be complete by June 17th. So as temperatures warm up, we should see that work moving forward. I'll just move on to, and what you see here is Sunset Park. So we've started, this is a combined project, facilities, recreation, and public works. Waterfront Committee, very much so. As you may have seen, we've started the work on, or more work on Sunset Park. This is groundwork is going in for asphalt for the parking lot area and the small piece of active transportation that will go along to enable visitors to access some of the features of the park. Facilities, operations, and parks. So just a few things. Pretty busy with applications for funding. We're waiting provincial approval on the EV Boost program, accessibility funding for the food bank. So we have a food bank project that is moving forward right now. We'll see work start on that actually this week with the movement of the sewer and preparations for foundations for the small addition there, as well as we're waiting to hear finalization on the rink revitalization program. We do have confirmation on students, so we have 9 students that will be to the Canada Summer Jobs Program that we will actually have planned to start hiring as early as this week for an early start for some grass cutters. We also have 2 students through provincial programs for our trails, and we have 1 student that's going to be joining us through Clean Nova Scotia, and that's Engineering and Public Works intern. Arena Ice has finished another successful spring hockey season. Ice is coming out in preparation for what we see as a fairly busy summer in that surface, starting on May 14th with the Red Tribe boxing event. Again, with respect to marketing, recreation, tourism, and culture, Again, on the trails, Trails Tuesday is starting up again very soon. Again, there's some funding that's been applied for, which we hope to be able to announce shortly. We've had a very successful spring season of swimming lessons, which is starting and filled up right away. And we were able to add more classes to accommodate those on the waiting list. So that's very good information for us. Reminder to council that nominations for the Town of Port Hawkesbury Volunteer Representative for 2022, the applications for that will be received until May 17th. So if there's a person you want to nominate for that award, please do so. You've been included. We have Michelle has given you a list of shows that takes us right up until next Christmas. So very active, a lot of activity on that side as far as bookings. Just coming up shortly, I guess, as I mentioned, May 14th, Red Tribe boxing in the arena. July 4th, circus, non-animal as well. 2 shows starting on July 4th. As well, I won't go into there, but a lot of work on, as Michelle had indicated in Committee of Whole, a lot of work on going into preparation of grants, and we hope to be successful on a number of those. Granville Green artist announcements will take place June 1st, and Michelle will be working with our local media, including the Hawk for that announcement and progressive announcements as we move closer to the start of Granville Green. So your reports have been submitted. Certainly willing to take questions and for you to pass on questions to our senior staff.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Does council have any comments or questions at this time?
Your worship.
No. Huey, do you have any comments or questions?
Just through you, Your Worship, maybe to Gordy, I think, if he's here, or Terry might be able to answer, and I'm sure the answer is yes. But when we're taking the ice out of the arena, we're taking it right out of the arena. We're not just cutting it up and leaving it like they used to do and making quite a mess and ruining the boards and everything.
Yeah,
I can comment.
Oh, great. There you go.
Yeah. So no, the ice is fully physically removed from the arena surface. We still use our ice melt pit, which is inside the facility, and the excess is dumped outside the facility and washed away in the back parking lot. All the components of the ice and the ice paint are biodegradable and safe to be disposed of in that fashion.
Oh, that's good, Gordy. I know one time we just used to break it up and leave it, and used to make an awful mess.
Yeah. So
thank you.
You're welcome. We cut it down as much as we can with the ice resurfacer, with the Zamboni, and when we get to a certain point where we get into the paint and closer to the concrete, we let it melt enough so we can suck it up with our auto scrubbers, our auto floor scrubbers, and then empty them into the storm lines.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor, any comments or questions?
Comments through you, Your Worship. The first one to Gordy. The arena staff has been working pretty hard to get that ice out and to clean it up for May 14th. And just want to say a big thank you to them, Gordy.
Certainly, I'll pass that along.
And my second comment is to Michelle. It's nice to see things booking up for the summer months in the Civic Center and seeing our building busy. So thank you for your work.
Appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Okay. So I just have 2 quick questions. So the 9 students, does that include the 2 for the trails and the 1 for Clean Nova Scotia, or is that in addition to?
That's in addition to,
Ooh, so 12 students?
there's 12 students.
Ooh, that's, okay, that was my first question. I guess the next is more of a request. So I guess as we are considering potential candidates for Volunteer of the Year for the town of Port Hawkesbury, I'm just curious if we're able to kind of track down a list of some of our past recipients. You know, sometimes it's, if you look at a list about past recipients, it's easier to kind of fill in the gaps to see who haven't, you know, hasn't been recognized yet. I don't know if that exists, but if we do have a list kicking around somewhere, perhaps it could be shared with council. Maybe we'll get some of our creative juices flowing in terms of thinking of any names we might want to move forward. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Your worship,
Yes.
it exists right here.
Oh, I forgot about this historian. Okay, Huey, you get on that. You can send us the recipients over the past 20 years. You probably do remember most of them. Thanks, Huey. So I guess with that, anything else for the CAO reports, Terry?
Yes, Your Worship. John Bain, the Director of Eastern District Planning, is joining us this evening to give us an update on dangerous and unsightly premises. Okay. And John is joining us online, virtually.
Over to you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So there's 6 files that I have updates on since the last time I was before council. 208 Hiram Street was a complaint about a number of vehicles on the property. Those vehicles have been removed from the property. It took 2 orders to do that. After the first order, the vehicles were removed, but then they were returned to the property. And so a second order was issued and the vehicles were removed. 311 Granville Street is also a closed file. The stairs up the side of the building have been barricaded and there's no access to that side of the building anymore. 314 Granville Street, that file was closed as well in January. One of the vehicles was removed and the other vehicle is still there being repaired, but the file was closed. I've got 3 files that are still open. 531 Granville Street is one that's been ongoing. We were on the property within the last couple of weeks, and we've indicated what needs to be cleaned up. And the intent is to return to the property this week to determine progress. No orders were issued. Causeway Shopping Center, I don't have much of an update on that one. In my last update, I mentioned that they had engaged an engineer, and we had that engineer's report. We'd issued a building permit for the repairs January 12th, but the repairs were weather dependent, I suppose, and now that the weather is better, or hopefully going to remain better, they're going to be starting the work on those repairs. The last one I have is Breton Apartments. Orders were issued for Breton Apartments, and we did receive some level of compliance. The loose panels were repaired. New paneling new boarding was put up in places. There were places where the buildings were not secure. The buildings have been secured. There was loose and hanging wires. Those were removed, and the debris was cleaned up around the building. There's still outstanding work to be done, There's broken up asphalt that has to be cleaned up from the parking areas. And we had asked for a engineer's report on the brick, the cladding on those buildings. And that engineering, we did get a note from the engineer that had been retained, and they're going to get that report to us within the next few weeks. So we have 3 files closed and 3 files we're continuing to work on. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions or comments from council? Councillor McCrory, you're good? Councillor McDougall?
No, I'm good. Thanks, John.
Deputy Mayor?
No.
Hey, I do have a quick question, John. So for the files that are closed, I take it for granted that it has been deemed that there are nothing dangerous or unsightly for any of those particular properties?
That's correct.
Assumption?
That's correct.
Okay. I guess if there's no other comments or questions, I'll thank you for your report. Thanks, John. Back over to you, if there's anything else.
No, thank you, John. That concludes the CAO reports for this evening.
Okay, so we're going to move on to correspondence. I do have an International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia request. Part of the request is a resolution request, so I will deal with that under agenda item 13. So I will ask Terry just to give us a little bit update on the MAD campaign.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So we have a request from MAD Inverness South, and they wish to start a campaign, bring awareness to the dangers of impaired driving with our Crash Car campaign. Impaired driving continues to be a leading cause of criminal death in Canada. Awareness campaigns like this directly impact motorists when they drive past it, making a long-lasting impression. A wrapped crashed car is placed in various locations in the community. Every 2 weeks, the car is moved to a new location. So there's a request from MAD Inverness South to place a car in the town of Port Hawkesbury, and they're asking for the car to be placed on Civic Center property that would be adjacent to Pitt Street Extension on the west side as we're driving up or driving down the hill or up the hill for view. Excellent location. It's right beside Sarek as well. So we ask for consideration of council for this.
So what is the wishes of council with regard to this request?
You mean a motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would move to grant a location to put their wrapped crashed car on.
To serve as an important message.
Yeah,
I will second it.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comments with regard to the motion that's currently on the floor?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. Thank you. Terry, was there anything else with regard to the MAD request?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you. So we will move on then to agenda item 13, which is proclamations and resolutions. We do have a Gaelic Nova Scotia month proclamation. We'll read it for the benefit of council. So whereas 2022 marks the 26th anniversary of Gaelic Nova Scotia month, which is a time to recognize, honor, and celebrate the history, culture, language, contributions, and achievements of Gaels across the province. And whereas Gaelic culture is an integral part of the identity of Nova Scotia and one of the earliest non-Indigenous cultures to settle in Mi'kma'ki. And whereas new generations of language learners and cultural champions carry on the legacy of Gaelic Nova Scotia's tradition, tradition bearers, and whereas government remains committed to collaborating with Gaelic communities to support opportunities for enhanced learning to ensure Gaelic language and culture will thrive in the town of Port Hawkesbury. What is the wishes of council with regard to this proclamation?
You're looking
I
for.
would move the adoption.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McDougall. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion for the proclamation for Gaelic Nova Scotia Month. If you're prepared, you can call the question.
Question.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved, so that proclamation is approved. And there is another request with regard to International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. So the request that has come forward, there is a couple of requests. One is a consideration of a resolution. The second is to raise a flag representing International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. And the third request is to submit a photo of the flag flying on May 17th, I believe, is the day. So the resolution has been distributed to council in your agenda packages. From the information that was provided, this was a movement that began in Quebec. So the resolution does make lots of references to the Quebec Charter of Rights and Freedoms. However, it started in Quebec, but it's quickly moving to all municipalities across the country. So I would ask council what their wishes is with regard to the three requests. So the first, if you will, with regard to the resolution.
I'll move the motion.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you. So we have a motion to approve the resolution on the floor. Is there any discussion or questions? Or if you're prepared, you can call the question.
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. I believe we can probably do the next two requests in one motion if council will consider raising the flag on May 17th and submitting a photo of the flag raising.
So moved.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, so that's a great question, Deputy Mayor. There is if we do not have a flag, and Gordy, I don't know if we do have this particular flag in our complement of flags.
I don't think we have this one, Your Worship.
Okay, so maybe in lieu of, there is a contact in the letter that will provide a flag for the municipality. If we don't get it in time, perhaps we can raise the pride flag for the day just to acknowledge it. And then of course, once we do have access to the flag, we can continue to raise it on May 17th.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that agenda item? Okay. We will move on then. Okay, so next is other business and council expenses. We had a busy month.
Pretty good.
It's going to look better next month.
Easier.
Yeah, a little better.
Anyways.
Okay, so that's for council's information. If you have any questions, I don't know how you would have any questions. If you do, feel free to ask here. Recommendations from Planning Advisory Committee. So Deputy Mayor Aucoin is the chair of Planning Advisory. So I will hand things over to you. Is it Jason or Terry?
If you, Your Worship and Deputy Mayor Aucoin, if I just might have just a minute just to introduce the subject just a little bit, just to describe first reading.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry.
So just a reminder, and I'm sure most of you or not all of you are very well aware, First reading off an amendment is designed to choose the date for a community consultation. So in first reading, the motions are read, which includes or can be in addition to the date and time of the community consultation. That gives our staff, our planning staff, the ability to advertise and to move forward with that. If there are, because this is a lot of work that was completing by a planning advisory committee over the last number of months. There's 3 fairly detailed studies. If there are questions that council need to be answered this evening, then we should not proceed with first reading. We should set a meeting date for further investigation of those or further discussion of the studies, and then choose another date for first reading. I've had some feedback from some folks, so whatever the wish of council. If it's the wish of council, we have our motions, 3 motions, recommendations from Planning Advisory Committee. If the wish of council is to have more study or more information on those studies, then we should delay that first reading. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, so I guess just so we understand, we can deal with each recommendation on an individual basis. I guess that would probably be appropriate. And so if council is comfortable with one or all of those 3 recommendations, then today would stand as first reading.
Your Worship, the only thing I would say is that the PAC put the 3 motions together so that there could be community consultation on all 3 at the same time.
Okay.
So we're hoping to get community out
to
discuss some significant changes in our planning strategy and land use bylaw. So I think the decision should be made, and do they require further study, or do we proceed with first reading?
Okay, so I guess council will go through the recommendations, and then council can, I guess, come to a determination.
So before we go through the recommendations, I do just want to follow up on Terry's comments. We did spend a lot of time on these 3 recommendations, and just like Terry had mentioned, we feel it would be best from the Planning Advisory Committee to do all 3 at the same time. So some of them are very closely related, and some people may have some questions or concerns with one that could lead into another. So instead of trying to get the public out on 2 or 3 different occasions, I think it would be best to do it at once, like Terry had mentioned. So we'll go with the first one. The recommendation is that Port Hawkesbury Council approve the proposed amendments to the Port Hawkesbury Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw to permit accessory dwelling units in residential 2-unit zone, R2 zone. So that's the first one. The second one, that Port Hawkesbury Council approve the proposed land use bylaw amendment to rezone lots in the Grants Pond subdivision on McLaughlin Drive and the undeveloped lands off Spruce Street from residential single unit R1 zone to residential 2-unit R2 zone to allow for higher density residential development within the town. And in our package, we have a map of all those areas. And the third one is that Port Hawkesbury Council approve the proposed amendments to the Port Hawkesbury Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw to add craft beverage facility as permitted use in the Granville Street Waterfront Development C2 zone and insert accompanying definitions.
So those are the 3 recommendations coming from Planning Advisory.
Yes, they are.
I guess one question in terms of process. So it typically, and I know that Eastern District Planning has representation on the advisory committee, is that correct?
Yes, very much so. So we have a planner attends all of our PAC meetings and many times the executive director, John Bain, as well.
Okay.
And John is here with us as well
Okay.
this evening and is prepared to speak to this as well.
Oh, okay. Maybe, John, did you have, I guess, anything that you'd like to add to the motions for consideration? Maybe he's not with us
Maybe John's
anymore.
still here.
I think John left.
It was his intention, so something could have come up.
Yeah, he might have lost his connection. You've had conversations with John? Is there anything you can update us with?
No, it's just that once first reading is if council is not ready to move forward with first reading, then we don't move forward with first reading. Then we reconsider the study. It's just as a result of, I know there could be some questions there with respect to specifics within the study. If that's the case, then council should take the time to do that.
Okay, so I guess we'll open up the floor then in terms of if there's any questions or comments.
Should we bring the motion to the floor then? No?
We don't necessarily have to, because then we have to deal with a defeated motion. But we can have some conversation, informational conversation with regard to it prior, because I mean, these motions are for first reading, so we definitely want to make sure that we have some dialogue prior to that consideration. But you're right, under normal circumstances.
So I'll start if you don't mind, Your Worship.
No, sure.
As sitting on the Planning Advisory Committee and chairing it, there's been a lot of thought put into this, a lot of work. As you can see in the package, there's staff reports there that are pretty detailed. I, for one, would support all three.
Okay. Councilor McIver?
Yes, Your Worship, I would put forth a motion to defer to a later meeting, as I have many questions on all three files.
Okay, so would you to the June public meeting?
Or committee of the whole, like, it's a discussion of council with district planning.
Okay.
Through your worship, we may want to have a special meeting of council as well to move that forward, dealing just with this topic and with the planner with us as well, so we can go through in some detail and be prepared to ask detailed questions.
I'm definitely open to that, just so we don't kind of belabor it for another month if we.
Well, we have to be aware too that in July, we recess.
Yes.
Yeah, but sooner than later, so that we can.
If we could have this meeting before the June 2nd, it may be beneficial.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. We could even, like, we do have a one mover to defer potentially to a special public meeting within the next 2 weeks.
Yep, or sooner.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion to defer so that we can make sure that we have all the appropriate information and ask the questions that we need to, but not to belabor first reading, just to make sure that we have all the information. I guess we just have a mover and a seconder. Is there any questions, Councilor McDougall?
Just on the motion, it's moved and seconded by.
Moved by Councilor McIver and seconded by Deputy Mayor Aucoin to follow up and have a special public meeting to discuss these further before first reading.
Are we going to discuss it amongst council, or are we going to discuss it in an open council meeting?
All meetings of council are public.
See, I understand that, but so at this meeting we're going to have, we can make Okay, thank you.
So Terry did suggest that we have John Bain and perhaps some other planners with us. And if there's anybody from Planning Advisory too that, you know, can lend to the motions for consideration. And if there are any questions, what I would invite council to do is forward your questions, like as soon as is possible. That way, if there is information that we need planning staff or town staff to get some information, then we'll have that ready. We'll have a package prepared so that we will all be able to make an informed decision with regard to first reading of these 3 motions. Councilor McCrory?
Oh, no, just waiting for the question to be called.
Do you have any other questions or comments? Okay, any other question has been called? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will poll council, and in the interim, if you could please forward your questions to Terry and CC them to Jason as the chair of the Planning Advisory. Then we can work on making sure that we have all the appropriate information before we consider first reading of those 3 recommendations. Okay, anything else on that agenda item, Jason?
No, that's fine, Your Worship.
Okay. All right. Okay, Reeve Street survey. Okay, over to you, Councilor McDougall.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I put this on the agenda last week. During the time, I was getting a bunch of questions from neighbors, relatives. Even at my work, at their crew meeting at work, I was asked questions. They were getting phone calls from the survey company asking questions to people, and they were asking me about the questions, and I had no idea what the questions were or who was doing the survey and who the young girl was that was asking the questions. Actually, they called my landline about 3 times, and I never got to them. They did call Marie's cell phone when she was on call. Marie passed me the phone. I asked the girl if she could call my landline because Marie had got a call from work right away because she was on call, and I couldn't use her phone. But I guess the long and the short of it is, as a counselor, I felt very put out that I didn't know the questions, and the questions were out there for 2 weeks and not knowing the questions. And when citizens of Hawkesbury were asking you, what are the questions and why are they relative to Reeve Street in what aspect, and I had no way of answering. And I'm under the understanding that there was other councillors in the same boat that didn't know what the questions were. And I don't know if that committee is an advisory committee to council, or if it's, I know that they got money for the survey from council, so they definitely should be reporting to council. But I just felt that if there's taxpayers' money being used for anything in the town of Port Hawkesbury, that at least the councillors should know what's going on. So going forward, and I'm not trying to beat anybody up here or pick on anybody. I just saying going forward, I think that we should have some thought into all of council because there are questions from the citizens. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Anybody else want to follow up on Councilor McDougall's comments?
Yes, Your Worship. As Councillor McDougall stated, I did receive a lot of calls on it, and at the fire hall that following Wednesday, I got a lot of questions from the members that were getting calls about the Reeve Street, and I didn't know the questions either. And they were asking me what beautification had to do with the street I couldn't answer them because I didn't know the questions. And as Councilor McDougall stated, I don't know if the committee is an advisory committee or not, but if it is an advisory committee, it should be reported to council before it comes out. And council should be well aware of what goes on. And not to, as again, state as Councilor McDougall did, to beat up on anybody. It's just what happened. It'd be just great in the future if we got the information.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
To hear council say that they didn't know who was performing the survey, that was definitely brought forward to council. And
I didn't mean that, Deputy Mayor, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, the girl that was calling, I didn't know who that was. She didn't identify herself at the time. I knew who was doing the survey, what company.
Okay, so two council members do sit on that committee. We did have our opportunity for input on the questions. And in one meeting, there was some concerns brought up about the questions and they were reworded. You're right, we as a council did not know what the questions were. And that's something that we can do better moving forward. And one thing that, you know, I've been asked this question, and one thing that the public really needs to understand is Reeve Street is owned by the province. The province is almost doing us a favor by allowing us to work with them and having some input. Because at the end of the day, the province owns that road and the province can do what they want with that road. And it's just that simple. So there's been some hiccups throughout this whole project, but I am grateful that the province is allowing us to have some input and allowing us to bring the concerns forward.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Corey, any comments or questions?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So we had a Reeve Street committee meeting on November 30th, and Don Mills presented his first draft of the questionnaire. And the committee, we met for an extended period of time reviewing the questionnaire. I personally was quite pleased with the initial presentation in terms of I felt the breadth of questions. We covered all things that were very appropriate. But when we left that meeting, the conclusion was that Don was going back to make changes to the questionnaire based on the feedback that the committee members provided, and that we were supposed to have another meeting, subsequent meeting scheduled in January to review the revised questionnaire. And the hope was that the questionnaire was going to get distributed by the end of January. Well, that second meeting didn't happen. And we didn't hear anything through the month of January, didn't hear anything through the month of February. And I believe it was in March that I spoke to Carrie to inquire as to where things were and were we going to be having the second meeting. And anyhow, Carrie, I believe it indicated to me that he was going to be in touch with Don Mills and just confirm where things were and stuff. So in hindsight, and yeah, I appreciate Councilor McDougall's comment and Deputy Mayor Coyne. You know, this is a very significant issue for the town. It was a significant issue back in 2018 when I ran for in the by-election here. And we had, this gallery was packed on February of 2019. People that were here very concerned as to whether this project was going to get the go-ahead to move forward or not. And the motion was passed to have the project go forward with changes that the TIR at the time and Public Works now had committed to making. And one of the commitments to the community, you say, Deputy Mayor, you're thankful for TIR to include us, but that was a commitment that TIR made to the town to say, okay, we appreciate that there are concerns, And we are going to do an evaluation after, I think it was initially was it going to be, yes, it was after 1 year, and then obviously COVID, we were hit with COVID, and Public Works, TIR, felt that was going to affect the traffic counts, so we wouldn't get true traffic counts. So really, there was not a lot that had gone on since that meeting in February 2019. And so now we're at the point where the questionnaire is out, and in hindsight, just that little preamble, I'm sorry, but in hindsight, I definitely feel that council should have had an opportunity as a council to see the questionnaire before it was, I guess, agreed upon by or with the consultant as far as how satisfactory the questionnaire was. So for me, it's unfortunate that we didn't have that second opportunity to have a look at the questionnaire. And but I think even as it is, as the questionnaire is, people really, there are a number of opportunities to express dissatisfaction. If people are dissatisfied about the 3 lanes, they're certainly able to provide that input into the way the questions are put forward. It's not as straightforward as, do you want to see Reed Street go back to 4 lane? There's not a black and white question that specifically says that. But again, I think there are opportunities for residents to voice their, if they're displeased with it, there's opportunity for them to express their displeasure. Anyhow, thank you, Your Worship.
And also an opportunity to express
Positives.
positives
Absolutely,
as
Your
well,
Worship.
just to balance your
No,
comments.
I appreciate that, absolutely.
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I like balancing it with positivity, Councilor McCrory. Any other comments or questions?
Your Worship, just a
No,
couple.
go ahead.
So the question was,
Just one,
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor McDougall, and then we'll have Terry, our CAO, just get some information. Go ahead, Councilor.
yeah, just on, I appreciate Councillor McCrory's comments, and just on one of his comments there that I'm not really concerned. Why I brought this up was not concerned of either way of what the citizens were saying. They all have the right to say whatever they want. It's just that the council should have been informed of the questions beforehand, and they couldn't, and whatever way that they filled out their survey is irregardless. I just want to make that point clear.
Thank you, Councilor. Terry?
but just a couple of points of clarification. One is that council should be very well aware of what this committee is. That's been in discussion at this table a number of times. This committee has been designed, it's not a committee of council. It is a committee that was formed by Nova Scotia Public Works to advise them and work with them on the study. The survey is, as you know, is one small part of that study that is occurring. The other thing is that one of the primary concerns in moving forward with the survey is there's some level of independence. So that is why the committee, TIR, and this council made the decision to go with a professional polling company. And that polling company is Narrative Research. So it would have been completely irresponsible for council to be involved in the middle of that polling when the polling was occurring. The questions with respect to should the committee have met again and reviewed the questions whether council should have reviewed the questions as a whole, didn't come up until the survey was in place and moving forward. Concerns were raised by the public. I've had one, Councilor McCrory has contacted me with respect to concerns with the survey. Those concerns were passed on, but I have not had any concerns passed on by council, and neither has any other staff. If that was the case, then we would have passed that on. But one of the primary things here is that there's a scientific approach to determining what the feeling of our community is with respect to this project. And this project was not just about lane configuration of Reeve Street, it was about a number of aspects. And that was a decision off the committee that was very firm on, they wanted this broad enough to see that. So the narrative research, well-renowned polling firm within this province had taken this on. They determined how to survey the people of the town of Port Hawkesbury, and now we'll go forward with analysis of that data. So the telephone survey is complete. The online survey is being completed tomorrow. The primary source and the narrative research were very clear on this, that the telephone survey is their primary source of information because it uses that scientific approach to determine that. So just a few points of clarification, Your Worship.
Thank you. So I guess if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on to the next item, but I will defer to you, Councilor McDougall, since you put this item on the agenda. Are you good to move forward?
Yeah, good to move forward, but I guess after Terry's talk there, I guess that the council really has not much to do with this. Then it's not. So when somebody asks me a question, I'll say, well, it's not council's. Council had no input to this. This is the survey company. That's my answer.
So we've already dealt with Everwind letter of support. So we'll move on to the Universal Healthy School Fund. So there was a 2-page request that came forward from Nova Scotia Health and the Community Health Board, asking council to support in writing just our support for the Universal Healthy School Food Program. So I understand that a letter of support would be one of the requests. Of course, the invitation is always there for funding, but I think the base request is a letter of support with regard to this. So with that, what is the wishes of council?
I'd make a motion that we would provide a letter of support, Your Worship.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion currently on the floor. Is there any comments or questions? Or you can Or you can call a question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very much. Okay, so the motion is approved. Okay, and we will hand things over to Aaron to talk about operating budget 2022-2023.
Thank you.
The most exciting agenda item on our meeting. Woo-hoo, budget.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I think we all feel like this gentleman here, after going through any budget process, and this year in particular, would be a bit remiss to go through budget conversations and talking about our operating budget without talking about our assessment trends. Our assessments are around 64% of our entire budget, so very important to the tax base in the community. We did see a bit of a slight relative flat residential growth, but we did see a bit of an increase, 5.32% increase over 2014 and a 3.2% increase over last year, which was nice to see. I think that equated to around an $80,000 increase in taxation revenue. Commercial is still a bit of a struggle, relatively flat over last year. A slight decline of 1.7%, decline of 7.63 over 2014, but we are seeing some positive trends in relation to property and real estate transactions here in the community that we, are optimistic will show some increases in assessment over the next coming years. Assessment doesn't change overnight, and these trends don't change overnight, but we've been seeing some positives around that. So. However, we did start with overall budget deficit of $236,000 in our initial plan. That equates to a $5.4 million increase in commercial assessment or a $13.1 million residential assessment, which we didn't have. We had a significant, and I think, you know, the RCMP costs, policing costs were a significant increase in expenditure this year, which you've been hearing a lot about in the news. So that was a significant pressure this year. So we did balance our budget this year after the initial draft. That was done through some revenue growth on the recreation programming and civic center side. We did have additional expenditures that were approved following the first draft of $23,000. There were some expense reductions internally of $74,000, but we did require to use some reserve funding of $155,000 to balance that $236,000 deficit we had in our first draft. Just to give a bit more detail on the 236 reduction, you know, kind of across the board, minimal reductions around travel, material supplies, various items, as well as some revenue growth. So just the budget charts that I know you're all used to seeing. So we have a $7.97 million budget. On the revenue side, primarily assessable property taxes at 64%, sales of service at 10%, which is primarily from our aquatics and civic center facility, and 9% comes from grants and lieu. So properties that are provincially or federally owned in our community that we get our grant and lieu as opposed to a tax. On the expenditure side, again, balanced at the $7.97 million. Primarily our largest expenditure would be protective services, which is your CMP and policing, and then kind of pretty equally shared amongst the other departments. Look at this, fancy. So just $5.2 million in tax revenues this year. The 2022-23 tax rate does remain stable. Same as last year. So our residential rate at $1.58, our commercial rate at $4.16, and our sewer service charge at 22 cents. And those are all based on $100 of assessment. And I say this every time, the town of Roxbury's tax rate at $1.80, which is inclusive of our sewer service charge, is the same as it was in 1987. Although this is not to be approved tonight, the capital, we did move forward with our capital plan and we approved it on March 15th, which is why, you know, Engineering Public Works and Jay and Gordy and we're able to move forward and get tenders ready early. So we're able to kind of move forward on some capital projects earlier than we've been able to do in previous years, which is a real, I think, highlight of this year. But I thought it was important to look at that as well and just provide a quick update similar to what we provided at the March 15th meeting. So we do have a $7 million approved capital plan, $1.4 million from previous years, 5.6 for the current year. So a $7 million total plan with 2.9 of that coming from reserves. I think I'm not able to click there, Terry. I don't know if you can click on your screen.
Oh, I probably did that.
That's okay. Yeah, there we go. So 20%, so this equates to 20% of our prior year net capital assets, so a nice replacement, and they're leveraged at 59%. So using 59% of other funders to provide for that $7 million plan, which is nice leveraging. Do you want to click again there, Terry, or maybe I don't have control anymore? Yeah, so quickly, so major project around the water treatment and distribution system. So that's pending infrastructure funding, which Terry alluded to earlier, $3.37 million. Aggressive patching, 860 meters of milling and paving is what's been estimated of road surface, as well as 1,700 meters of sidewalk replacement, which is partially pending infrastructure funding. So there is some sidewalk that we're moving forward regardless if that funding comes in or not, but there is a portion of it that is partially, that is pending infrastructure funding. Some fleet improvements, so Public Works in particular, backhoe replacement of the older machine, a light duty plow truck replacement, PHCC, Civic Center, the ice resurfacing equipment replacement pending province of Nova Scotia funding, as well as a bit of a facility refresh, branding refresh of the facility, and again, pending external funding. $95,000 of roof replacements, active transportation through the ICIP program that Terry alluded to earlier, partially this year's plan is partially tendered. There's another section that's going to be tendered later in the year, but $1.4 million in connectivity improvements and placemaking. This year in particular focused on the waterfront as well as the community park. And there's additional connections that will be made over the next 3 years. Pending funding approval again. Waterfront project, which includes Sunset Park improvements, which have been commenced, accessibility improvements, signage, and kiosks on the waterfront. So some really neat stuff as well. Just $10,000 towards accessibility improvements to leverage funding for hopefully Granville Green is what we're looking for. Yeah, so I'm happy to take any questions now on the operating plan is what we'd be looking to approve tonight, but happy to take questions on operating capital. And pending response to your questions and adequate response to your questions, I have a motion up for council for consideration for this evening to approve the operating budget, set your tax rate, set your interest rate, and set your due dates.
Okay, so what is the wishes of council?
I would put forward that motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve our operating budget for 2022-2023. Are there any questions or comments with regard to this motion on the floor?
Question.
The question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have it approved budget. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
So moving on to our most exciting, moving off of our most exciting agenda item, which was our operating budget approval. We do not have any approved additions at this time. So we will have 2 future meetings. So our next public meeting will be June 7th, followed by our committee of the whole June 21st. And just to note also for council, we will be planning a special public meeting to talk about the planning advisory recommendations that were presented here this evening. So we'll be polling council with regard to availability for that future meeting. Okay, at this time, I would ask if we have any questions for any of our virtual gallery participants, or I guess we did have some more gallery folks here, but we do have one gallery attendee as well in person at this time if there are any questions on any of our agenda items. Yeah, please.
Your Worship, thank you, Council. I'd just like to address Council. Most people realize that it was me that put forward the change. That wasn't just for me, that was in general for the town.
Sure.
I think waterfront needs pubs, restaurants, and things like that. So if people have concerns about that motion, I'd like that to be addressed to me personally, because as it is, it's me that's investing my time, money, effort. So if people don't want it to go ahead, please tell me now, because I will stop. Yeah, more or less.
Is there anyone on council who wants to respond? Or
I will, Your Worship.
Yeah, go ahead, Deputy.
I appreciate your comments, but there is a process that council is going to follow to get.
I don't want a special treatment.
No.
I just want to know that if there's a problem with what I put forward.
So we will discuss it as a council, and if there's some concerns there forward that we need some clarification from, we will definitely reach out to you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I must say that as far as I'm concerned, Hawkesbury is open for business. So.
Thank you. Any other questions with regard to any of our virtual gallery members? I feel like we do have a lot of staff, but if there's any gallery members who may have some questions.
None?
Okay, hearing none, I would ask for a motion of adjournment.
Motion moved. I'll second.
Moved by Councillor Corey, seconded by Deputy Mayor O'Coin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, motion is approved. Thanks everyone for your time this evening.
Thank you.